There's 16 teams at Worlds. I believe 4 North American teams, 5 European teams, 2 South American, 2 Oceania. So that's like Australia, New Zealand. What is that, 13 so far? Yeah, 1 from the Asia Pacific, 1 from Sub-Saharan Africa, and 1 from the Middle East. There's normally 2 from the Middle East, but the second seed team couldn't come. So they gave the spot to the 5th seed from Europe. So I personally think... Aw, hold on. Baby Talisman is upset. Alright, we'll see how long that keeps him occupied. Like I said, we're not going to be committing into anything crazy until my wife gets home. But we can bring up the predictions and look at the teams. I made some notes. I looked back on some previous results, and I looked through who's been grinding ranked in the off season and who, there was an Esports World Cup. Basically, I think some teams have been putting in a little bit more effort than other teams. You look at a team like Carmine Core, very good team, had the first half of the season very good results, but they didn't do the Esports World Cup, they didn't do the Shift Summer League, and it's not clear to me that they're grinding ranked or all 3 of them are grinding ranked like some other guys are. So we're gonna try to keep some of those notes in mind. Let's see. I've also, what I did was I isolated who I feel are clutch players based on my viewing. Obviously every player here in the tournament is extremely good, but I isolated down some clutch players, some off-season grinders, teams that have been consistent across the season instead of just peaking on one tournament here or there, and then guys that have historically upped their game on LAN. And I think that's important because pressure is at its maximum at the World Championships. So, you might, online with a lower pressure situation, you might perform a certain way, but when pressure really hits the pedal to the metal and you're have to perform in front of an audience in a grand final or something, some players have just shown time and time again that they're up to the task. Very seldomly do they falter. So I've kind of listed out some of those. So we're going to take that into account on some of the matchups that, could go either way, or maybe even like an upset. Alright. And I think what I'm going to do is, unless there's some large distraction, we're going to try to get this snipped up and out onto YouTube too. So if you missed the stream today, you won't know what I say, but you might be able to catch it on YouTube. Alright. So, if you don't know the Worlds format, the first stage is called a Swiss stage. Every team plays until they've won 3 games or lost 3 games. And you play against teams of the same record. And then the first round is based on seeding. So, G2, highest seed going into the tournament. So they're going to play the lowest seed going into the tournament, which is Limitless. Limitless being the Sub-Saharan Africa team. We'll look at the rosters real quick. So some guys you have definitely heard of, but I don't think Sweaty was at the last Worlds. I could be wrong, but I know Snowy and To Die For are basically on the Sub-Saharan African team every time. Pioneers have not been playing as well as Power. Torsos being one of the most experienced LAN players. Banana Head, arguably the best OCE player right now. They actually have a higher seeding than a lot of teams. So, but we can't count guys out like JNaps and Nolly and Calm, who, although they are the 4th seed NA and maybe not the favorites by anybody to get a top 4 finish, have a ton of LAN experience and have won majors and won LANs. We're not going to worry about like the yap off or anything like that. Okay, so going into this first round, I do not expect any of the highest seeds to lose their matches. And I know there's like something with seeding and tiebreakers in games, but I'm not gonna think about the game differential too much. Essentially, if I'll give a really close game like a 3-2, one-sided game a 3-1, and a blowout 3-0. But really, you can have 3 games that are all in overtime. You never know. But I think G2 will 3-0 limitless. One thing I will try to keep in mind is teams that have historically maybe come out slow and gotten better as tournaments go on. So like I think the Gen Gs and even like a team like OG, I think will start off worse than they'll finish. Whereas like a team like Oxygen or Falcons comes out swinging, BDS even, Furia, those are the kind of guys that come out swinging and they kind of peter off towards the end sometimes. Not all the time. Obviously, BDS won the Esports World Cup, so these things aren't fixed, but that'll inform some of our predictions. I don't think Gentlemates will have an issue with Pioneers. I think Falcons will come out and just absolutely obliterate the Gladiators. I want to say 3 to -1. No, I'm just kidding. Falcons are going to come out swinging. Furia, I also think is going to come out swinging, and I think OG will take a game off them. In fact, I think OG will take off the first game. I'm just going to throw that prediction out there, and then Furia will come out and destroy them. BDS Oxygen. I think Oxygen is going to take this one, actually. Oxygen is a very dangerous team, and I think they weren't going to be at Worlds, and I think since they found out they're going to be going to Worlds, Joyo's a land boy. Archie, if he's motivated, is incredibly talented, and Oski is crazy good. So they're one of those teams that, like, if they're motivated and they're grinding, and from what I can tell, at least Joyo is, and maybe even all 3 of them, they're gonna be out here playing really well. What's up, dude? What? Yeah, you want to come sit up here? Okay. All right, we gotta grab baby towels, man. He wants to see what's up with his brackets. Vitality Secret. I haven't been too impressed with Secret lately. They are extremely talented, but for whatever reason they get caught out, slow rotations, overcommitments. I think they'll take a game off Vitality, but I think Vitality will come out swinging. I do think Vitality is one of those teams that has the potential to kind of drop off when they get to the playoffs, but I highly doubt they miss playoffs. So unless this Swiss stage kind of comes out weird, I just really highly doubt they miss playoffs. And to kind of show that faith I have in them, they're not losing a Secret. Genji, I don't remember the last time they ever lost to Power. Maybe they have. But I think they're going to do quite well against Power. Power is pretty good. I do think Genji is a team that learns as they go through the tournament. They play pretty well towards the end of the tournament typically. I'm going to say Power. I'm just going to call it a 5 game. Space Station Carmine. Here's where I'm going to go to my notes. I think Carmine has been inconsistent this season. But man, Vatira is a land boy. Vatira loves lands. And Space Station has a lot of experience in Chicago. I don't think they're going to do it though. I think Carmine's going to take them. And that'll give us to our second round. So in the second round, I think that's where we're going to see Oxygen kind of get a wake-up call. G2 is going to handle them. I think it's going to be relatively close, but not crazy close. And then Gentlemates Genji, that's a great match. I think it's going to be super close, come down to the wire. But I think, again, Genji is getting their footing. They'll probably make playoffs. But they're gonna drop this to Gentlemates. Falcons and Carmine. Falcons are gonna handle Carmine, I think. Falcons are just so good. I think if you take every team and say you play on form as you can, Falcons are the best team in the world. Falcons are G2. Oh, buddy. They're just so fast. They're so in sync, like, when they're on form. Sometimes they get kind of weird defensive rotations, but, like, it's mind-boggling how they can control the pace of a game when they're really vibing with each other. Furia Vitality. I think Vitality will take this. They beat them at the Esports World Cup, I believe. I'm not gonna double check it. I don't quote me on that, but if I remember correctly, I think they did. BDS is not even gonna have an ounce of a problem with Limitless. Power has had the Pioneers number, but Pioneers have beat them, I believe. Space Station, they're gonna come out. They had a good warm-up against Carmine Core, so they're not going to have a problem with Gladiators. And Team Secret is going to just barely get past OG. G2 Vitality. I do think G2 is a better team, but let's look at who they've had to... Vitality just comes off of Furia and Secret, two South American teams, extremely fast. They're going to be used to that pace, whereas G2 comes off of Oxygen and Limitless. It's like, on average, not as good of a warm-up. I do think Zen is an incredibly clutch player. Zen, I believe, individually is a better player than Beast Mode. Maybe hot take, but I think Daniel is a better player than Beast Mode too. But Beast Mode has that dog in him. When he's on, he's like unstoppable. It's just consistency wise, and so I think it's hard to say because Atomic is like a glue that, you know, Vitality doesn't have. So I think I'm gonna say G2 takes it, and I think Atomic's gonna be the difference, right? You look at, like, if you want to compare the rosters, Vitality doesn't have an Atomic. Radosin is not as effective of a player as Atomic is, whereas like Beast Mode and Daniel can go toe to toe with Alpha and Zen, and so I think G2 will take it. It's possible they don't though. Gentlemates and Falcons, again a close one. I think Falcons will 3-0 into the playoffs. Furia has Secret's number, I'd say, and I think they're gonna 3-0 them. Genji Space Station. Now I gotta maybe double check. I don't think I'm going to. I'm just gonna give it to Space Station, actually. Space Station, their previous matchup against the Gladiators gives them some confidence. It's not as good of a warm-up as Gen G's matchup against Gentlemates, but Space Station is so good when it comes to the pressure. When they need a goal, LJ is one of the best in the world at getting a goal. First Killer used to be that guy, and he's still obviously amazing, but I just don't think he's that guy anymore when it comes down to the pressure. I think it's going to become a Game 5 overtime. That's what I'm going to call it, and Space Station is going to take it. Carmine BDS. Monkey Moon is such a different beast sometimes, but I'm going to give this one to Carmine. I think Vatira is going to be pissed that they lost a game, and he's gonna just go crazy. Rise is also a land boy. I have him in my notes as like, Rise is a clutch land boy that, you know, he was on BDS, and so I think they'll take it. Oxygen will handle power pretty easily, I think. OG will 3-0 Limitless. Fortunately, Limitless, I doubt you take a game. It's kind of a pattern. but it is what it is. And Pioneers will 3-2 Gladiators. I think Gladiators will put up a fight in their elimination game, but at the end of the day, they will not advance. That's my guess. All right, who else makes it into playoffs right away? I think Gentlemates will. I think Vitality will. And I think Furia will. So now we have 5 in playoffs already, and there's a lot of great teams that aren't in playoffs yet. And we'll see who survives. I think BDS will survive. Oh, bless you, buddy. Everyone say, bless you to Baby Talisman. You know, as much as I love OG, I just don't see them getting past Gen G. Gen G's had 3 games to kind of figure out their issues. They're getting better and better as the tournament goes on. That's kind of a pattern I've seen. They are also very consistent. I don't think Gen G misses out on playoffs here. And, hot take, but I think Secret loses to Power here. But because of that, I do think Secret would have had a better chance against Carmine Core than Power does. But I think, you know, call it an upset. Maybe not. Secret isn't as good as they have been in the past. But that means that Carmine Core is getting into the playoffs. BDS is going to send Space Station home crying. And Gen G is going to send Oxygen home crying. Those are going to be close games for elimination games, but that's my Swiss stage. You can, you know, flame me all you want about it, but I think, you know, that leaves us with, you know, a decent set of playoff contenders, right? G2, Gen G from NA, Gentlemates, Vitality, BDS, Carmine from EU, and then Falcons and Furia. So, while I do think NA's peak is higher than EU's, EU does have, if you were just to list out the 8 best teams in the world, I think these are your 8. You can make a case for Oxygen or Space Station in there instead of, you know, maybe a Carmine or a Furia, depending on the day. But the way this bracket is set up is it's not a normal just you're out when you lose. They give precedence to the higher seeds. So there's some seeding matches that determine who makes it to the upper quarterfinals, and then those guys have 2 lives. Okay? So first, we take Gentlemates versus Furia. And then whoever loses that goes and plays, or whoever wins that, or sorry, whoever loses that goes and plays against Vitality. The winners of those 2 matches go on to play G2 and Falcons. And then whoever wins whoever wins this upper quarterfinals kind of just hangs on until a couple more matches have been played. So you'll see how it works when I go through the games. Gentlemates versus Furia. Gentlemates versus Furia. Man, Seiko is so good on LAN. Juicy has been very good on LAN. And honestly, these Furia guys haven't been, I mean, they've been good, but they haven't been outstandingly good since like 2022 on LAN. So I'm going to give this one to Gentlemates. Furia Vitality. Furia Vitality. Let's see. I trust Zen to perform very well. I don't necessarily, and Alpha actually. I think Alpha steps it up on lands too. He's still got it. Radosin is kind of a, because who's Furia? Lost, Yan, and Drafinho. All right, I'm gonna give it to Furia. And I think they're gonna lose to G2 here again. Did I just? Yeah, Falcons. Never played Gentlemates, right? Okay. Interesting. Here I think Falcons win again. But now it comes down to, you know, how good is Gen G gonna be at this point in the game, right? Like, Furia just beat Vitality. They had a warm-up. Gen G's coming off no warm-up. But I do think I do think that Vitality has historically struggled with Gen G, at least recently. And I'm actually going to call it 4-1. I think Gen G is going to be really good at this point. I think it's First Killer's time to do really well at Worlds. BDS Carmine. I got to give this one to Carmine because I think BDS might underestimate them. Give up the first couple games. Because I had Carmine beating BDS in the tournament, in the bracket, or in the Swiss, sorry. So I'm gonna leave it. It's gonna be a close game. Rise and Vatira are gonna eke it out. Gen G Furia. I think Gen G takes this off of Furia. Furia's playstyle is not one, in my opinion, that wins championships. It's too high highs and low lows, and not enough high floor. Whereas Gen G doesn't peak as hard as Furia, but their floor is extremely high and consistent. Gentlemate's Carmine Core. Man, Seiko, Juicy, Itachi. Such a good team. I think Gentlemates have been so much more consistent than Carmine Core that they're just gonna keep that consistency going. And here's where I think Falcons will overcome Gen G. They're just gonna be riding. I don't think Falcons are gonna lose. I don't think Falcons are gonna lose a match. Okay, we're back. I'm really high on Falcons right now. I think they've lost enough finals that they're just kind of like, they're over it. I think they're over it. Unfortunately, man. I'm actually going to switch this. Gentlemates didn't play too well at the Esports World Cup. Now, here's the thing. I think if this match goes to 7, Carmine would win it. But if G2 can stay in control enough, I think they'll win it. And then, same thing. I think if this Falcons G2 match goes to 7, G2 takes it. I think Beast Mode just has the dog in him too much. But if Falcons control the pace enough to not let it go to 7, they're going to win it. And I think that's what's going to happen. They're so good. There's no stopping them, really, in my opinion. Obviously, I think any one of these teams in the top 8 could win. But I'm going to have to go with Falcons. So there's my top 16. My seeding predictions. And what's nice about this format is you actually get a first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth separately, instead of 4th through 8th being grouped together, because of the way they do this bracket. So they, you can say you were 5th, 6th instead of 5th through 8th. So let me know what you think. If that's crazy, maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know.